Action. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Action Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods. We're talking about Scream 6, the movie 65 starring Adam Driver. And then Pete's going to be running down a few quick films. Operation Fortune with Jason Stratham. Champions with Woody Harrelson. I can't read my writing.
Boston Strangler.
Boston Strangler. Yeah, that's it. Boston
And
Strangler.
wrapping things up with a little magician's elephant.
Yeah, Magician's Elephant, which is on Netflix. And then Boston Strangler, that's on Netflix as well, Pete?
No, that's on Hulu.
Hulu. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Great. And then we're also going to be talking about our upcoming films we're looking forward to for the rest of 2023.
Do our top 2023 films. I've got a great list. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I've got a very, very solid list, and we'll do some honorable mentions. It's going to be an action-packed year again, and looking forward to that. So with that, Pete, let's get right into it. Shazam.
No, it's an action-packed thing for an action podcast, so it makes sense.
Yeah. So, Pete, Shazam. Why don't you go ahead and start it off?
Shazam. I didn't see the first one, so I watched it before I saw the Fury of the Gods. And the first one I absolutely adored. Like, I just loved the first Shazam. And I'm not, like I've said on this podcast, I'm not a DC person per se. Like, there's just something about how Marvel handles things versus DC. And maybe the tides are shifting, because what we've seen with Marvel lately is like, what's kind of going on? But then Ant-Man came out and it kind of like reestablished what we're going to be looking at. But DC's, there's always been a lot of uncertainty. But I remember the first Shazam, and it was great. I actually loved it. I enjoyed every second of it. The second one, I enjoyed it as well. I think it's definitely a good watch if you liked the first one. I didn't really love Helen Mirren or Lucy Liu. I didn't really enjoy them as villains necessarily. I didn't think that it really fit the part of what those villains were supposed to be. So I didn't really feel like I was up against anything too incredible. I will say that Jimon Hansu of Paws and Fury fame, his return to this film was great. Like, I always loved that wizard character who is just like that person that just kind of comes in and sort of gives that hero the necessary information or tools or knowledge or whatever it is in order to kind of like excel.
I liked him in this film better. I mean, this is probably one of his lighter roles in terms of like showing a little bit of comedic chops and just being a very kind of likable character. He hasn't really done, I mean, I love his characters, don't get me wrong, but he's typically more intense or passionate, think Blood Diamond or Amistad, but in this one, right. he still has that presence, but then is a lot more I guess funny and comedic.
But there's also this air of like, one of my favorite films growing up, even though it scared the shit out of me, was It, the TV version, where you really got to see this dichotomy between kids and their adult lives. And I think the Shazam war really brought and has really worked well what it was to be like these kids versus what their superheroes are supposed to be, but actually having them coincide in the same universe, in the same time frame. I think that they've done that beautifully. I don't really mind the kids' time versus the adult superhero time. I think that they've done that really well. I enjoyed the second film. I enjoyed Fury of the Gods. If you're up for a superhero film, the first one I think blows it out of the water, because it was different than what I expected from Shazam itself. I think that Shazam 2 is good. It's a good watch. I think they could have done something differently with the villains. I didn't like the villains. I didn't like what they brought to the table, and or even the people that they casted. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, because they're both good actors, right? I don't think this is a Helen Mirren or a Lucy Liu problem. This is
Helen Mirren's not a good actress. Like, why would I even say something like that? But this was not a role for her at all.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I really enjoyed it. I even enjoyed the premise. I really liked the Greek gods, the whole historical aspect they add this. There's a lot
Mhm.
of mythological creatures in this as well. Like this one really kind of delve into Greek mythology a lot, which I loved. You know, that is definitely one of the pluses on this film. I'm kind of with you, like
But
Lucy
that
Liu,
was the
like
other thing about it was
she's
like,
Asian, like she's not Greek, you know what I mean? Like I
right.
don't know. It's just one of these like forced diversity things, and it's like,
They even
yeah,
when they brought all these characters in, like all these like villains and monsters from like the Greek world or whatever, they brought all of these things in to do all this ravage and stuff like that, and then they just went away from it.
yeah.
Like they didn't even like come back to it until the very end when those creatures were destroyed ultimately by the saving of the Shazam crew. Like they spent so much time on the building up to this sort of climax that they didn't even like really. I would have loved to see more destruction by these creatures, and had it been like more peril, and actually would have raised the stakes of what the heroes had to accomplish and had to
I thought the
save.
stakes were pretty good in this because
Eh,
like you definitely doubted Shazam in this film. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
I don't know
How
if
great is the kid actor, by the way? The kid Shazam. How great is he? He's
yeah.
good.
I
I
didn't,
don't want to
you
say
know,
anything.
I was
Good.
definitely curious on like how is he going to defeat Lucy Liu and the sisters? Like how, it was a legitimate question. Like, okay, like they did a good job, I thought, with the powers of the villains and everything. And so, you
Sure.
know, that I thought that was nice. That was a nice touch. Um, yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if it's actually there's parts of me that like it better than the first one. There's other parts that I think the first one works better. Ultimately, I'm kind of with you on your who should see it, who shouldn't.
I
Um,
almost think that there's going to be a third one that is going to kind of tie it all in together. I hope. I
yeah,
hope.
I think I don't know if
Um,
there'll be a third one per se. I think it's going to be tied into other movies. So,
I
spoiler
love
alert.
that they brought in Wonder Woman.
I said spoiler alert, so that's
Spoiler.
good.
You said spoiler.
Yeah, I did say spoiler alert.
And
Yeah,
then,
that's what I was going to talk about next. That's what I was going to talk about next. So again, spoiler alert stuff.
all right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some great cameo. There's a great cameo in this that kind of lets you know maybe what's upcoming.
Right.
And remember, it's important to know too. This is the first film under the James Gunn leadership, and so I know they scrapped Wonder Woman 3. We do have the Flash coming up. That's going to delve into the different Batman multiverse, Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. So yeah, I'm definitely curious how this fits in moving forward, all that good stuff. But again, I thought it's a
I do
good
think David
watch.
Sandberg did a really great job as a director for this film. I know he did the first one, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I thought he did as good a job as he could have done with this idea and this premise. I really hope that it really got kind of like builds into something more, and we get to see more of him because I don't know. I have a feeling that we're going to see him a lot in the future. Like I
Steven
think
Sandberg or Shazam.
no, Sandberg specifically, whether it's with Shazam or not. Like I think that he's done enough to kind of show us that this guy has chops
Yeah, for
and,
sure. I
and
agree.
really kind of direct something really amazing moving forward. So I'm looking forward to Sandberg's career for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so go see it. I think both of us recommend it. Definitely watch the first one if you haven't watched the first one. I'd say watch the first one, and you'll kind of figure if you have the appetite. But it's very kind of, if I had a comparison, I guess I would go Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's very
Humble.
lighthearted. Honestly, I'd put it really on par with Guardians. I might even like this more than Guardians of the Galaxy, to be honest. I was never the hugest Guardians of the Galaxy fan. I thought, the soundtrack really is what made Guardians of the Galaxy very good, besides the characters, of course. But like, Guardians of the Galaxy is not like my favorite Marvel film, but I thought it was always a solid, single double.
Yeah, but the Guardians, the special thing about the Guardians is that the ensemble just clicked,
For
right?
sure.
Like everything just worked. It didn't matter how many people were involved in the Guardians movie. It's just everything just seemed to work.
Yeah.
That
And
not
then
only
adding
is a,
Thor to them.
that not only is a testament to the acting, but also the writing and the direction of the scope of that universe, right? And I think that
Sure.
this captured a lot of that in these first two films. So that's why I recommend Shazam: Fear of the Gods, is because they're really doing something with this ensemble group of not only just like a group of adults, right? But it's also the coinciding children that are those adults, right? So it's really
Yeah.
twofold that they're building off of, and it's quite clever and really well done.
Yeah, good storylines too. Like you're saying on the multiple kids and all that good stuff. So awesome. So next, let's move to Scream 6. Um, so this is pretty much a continuation of the franchise. However, they basically built new lead characters on the fifth one, which came out a year ago. So it still has some of the legacy characters, Scream 1 through 4, but then again, adding kind of a newer, younger generation
To
of
build
characters
off of, right?
to build off of. Yeah. So I'll go first on this one, Pete.
Please.
Um, with number 5, so I just saw 5 before this one just to obviously kind of be a little bit familiar with it. I don't know if I saw Scream 4. Trying to remember if I saw Scream 3 or not. I know I saw Scream 2 for sure. But these are like obviously the original Scream I think was really good. And then I think they kind of tapered off a little bit, as do sequels typically do. The fifth one I thought was solid. But I actually like Scream 6 more. I thought this was maybe my second favorite Scream. You got to probably say the original's the best because it was kind of a new flavor on the genre.
Right.
But I probably enjoyed this one the second most. I thought it was kind of fresh, a new, different kind of idea, and then you know, kind of just trying to figure out really who done it, all that good stuff. I was pretty thoroughly entertained, and again, this is not necessarily my wheelhouse, but I was in for the ride. I enjoyed it.
It's very difficult, and I agree with you. I enjoyed this movie as well, but it's very difficult, especially a post Wes Craven, right? To
Yeah,
really kind of keep an IP moving forward that he sort of not only invented in a way, but established at the very least. He established this sort of film or this type of film. And obviously the first one that came out, I think I was still in high school, which was
yeah,
like
it was like 96, I think.
100 years ago, or I just graduated a year
Just
before.
graduated high school. Yeah,
I'm so young
yeah,
to this day. But I remember that first movie coming out and just being actually blown away by just the structure of it and then the star power that was behind it. And then the fact that they were able to continue that forward. And then here we are 20 years later, and they're still figuring out ways to sort of reinvent this thing. Who's
that worked, by the way. That
Matt Bettinelli Olpen
Yeah,
and
you nailed
Tyler
that one.
Gillette. Those two guys, what they did with this movie was they not only took the heart and soul of the Scream franchise and were able to move it forward in such a way, but they were able to put it in a different location, which is in and of itself a feat. And then these two actresses, Melissa Barrera, who, by the way, is probably one of the more gorgeous things I've ever seen in my lifetime, and then Jenna Ortega, who's amazing as well. These two girls are something to be watched in the future of acting, but also in this Scream. But you get this sense of this sort of reinvention of this sort of known IP and this known formula that we've all kind of grown up and loved. The subway scene alone was, I won't spoil it, but that was intense.
Yeah,
Even the opening sequence, there always seems to be a new opening sequence that Scream does that sort of pushes the limits and really kind of takes you into a different direction. You think that you know what's going to happen, and then when you realize what's going to happen, it's already too late. The person's fucking dead, right? And so, yeah, Scream 6, I enjoyed it 100%. I think if you're a Scream fan, I think you're going to enjoy this every step of the way, even if you're not a Scream fan.
I think if you're a horror fan, I think you'll like
It's a
it.
standalone. You can watch this movie and still understand because they kind of give you snippets of a backstory where you can sort of
Yeah, I would concur
follow
with that.
along. And then, the ending is what it is. It's everybody that you thought, and it's fantastic. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah,
Great,
for
great
sure.
movie. 2 recommendations so far. What a
Yeah,
podcast.
what a podcast. All right, next we have 65, which stands for 65 million years ago, which stars Adam Driver, and this is a sci-fi kind of adventure type film. Pete, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll go and I'll break our streak. of two in a row so far. 65 is a title and something that gets thrown at you in the first 5 seconds of watching this film that really could have been something that they could have utilized as something as like almost like a original Planet of the Apes. Like all of a sudden you see the Statue of Liberty at the end, right? Where all of a sudden you realize that this is actually not right now. It's not actually in the past. It's actually in the future, right? This could have been one of those moments where it didn't have to be thrown in your face that 65 million years ago we landed on this planet and had to deal with Jurassic Park looking dinosaurs, even if those dinosaurs half the time didn't even look like real dinosaurs, to be
Wait,
honest.
did you think it was us that landed on Earth?
No, not at
Oh,
all. But
it's a different species.
I'm thinking that this actually could have been twisted in a way where this movie could have started in the exact. This movie could have played out exactly the way it
Right.
played
Just
out.
don't name the title
Just
65.
don't say at the very
Yeah, yeah.
beginning, 65 million years ago, somebody
I'm with
landed
you.
on this planet. You know what I mean? Like, I think that
Yeah.
that ruined a major component of what this movie could have
Yeah,
been.
that's actually a good point. That's actually a
I
good point.
think that this movie could have played out the way it actually played out on screen. And then at the very end, you could have realized at the end, like, oh my God, this was 65 million years ago. This
Yeah.
isn't something in the future. Like they really could have done something with that. I mean, it was fine. I was
Yeah. It was
bored, to be honest. Like it was just a lot of walking, but I really think they could have utilized that specific thing, that 65, the title of this fucking movie. They could have used this to be the spoiler at the end that kind of like blew up in your face and like, oh my God, this was 65 million years ago. Oh my God,
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes so much more sense, right?
Yeah.
I
Because
mean, Adam
I agree
Driver's
in a
great.
sense.
Adam Driver crushes every time. He
Yeah.
did great. The young girl in it was really good. And I didn't know that she was from Infinity War. I didn't know that she was young Gamora until afterwards.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
didn't know that, but that makes sense. Yeah.
I didn't recognize her, but then when I looked it up, she's young Gamora
Oh,
in
okay.
Infinity War. So you get two of these amazing performers and a great story, a great idea. And
Yeah.
the people that wrote it were the guys that did The Quiet Place, which are
Yeah.
amazing films, which I enjoyed thoroughly. You had
Yeah.
all of these amazing pieces, but if you would have taken that one thing, you would have taken that title and put it at the end of this movie, we're talking game changers.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. There's a lot to like about this film. I think that, like I said, the premise itself is an excellent premise.
Great premise.
Um, and even the movie itself is solid. But yeah, I agree with you that it would have went from like a B to easily like an A plus. And it had tension, so it had a little bit of this was like Jurassic Park 3 maybe versus Jurassic Park, right? And I think that's kind of where, like you're saying, like it had the potential to be really, really good.
But just
And
imagine if
it
you
was
if you
solid.
got
It was
if
okay.
you had a trailer for Jurassic Park and you're about to go see Jurassic Park, but you had no idea it was about dinosaurs, right? Like it
Yeah.
was just like you had this premise and you were about to go into this, and then all of a sudden you start seeing dinosaurs in this film. This is one of those kind of movies where, okay, I'm transporting a bunch of people. I've got to get from A to B. I crashed onto this land.
And it's
Bam.
space, so you don't know.
You don't know where you're gonna land. I land
Yeah.
in this world. I've got to like move forward with this one girl. I've got to save her. We have to make it from point A to point B. Oh my God, there's dinosaurs. And then you figured out the end that it's 65 million years ago.
Yeah.
God, that would have been a million times better.
When the asteroid comes to wipe out the like a lot of good stuff. Like that part I
That
loved.
ticking time bomb, that ticking time clock,
Yeah,
at
there's a
that
lot to
point, it
like
didn't
about it.
matter, right?
Missed
It didn't matter at
opportunity.
that point.
Yeah, missed opportunity. But
Missed opportunity. It was
you know,
fine.
I think it's a solid film. Like I said,
Solid, but I mean,
I
God
wouldn't
damn.
say don't go see it. This is not going to be my number one priority on the movie list, but definitely check it out streaming. And if if you're looking for something to see,
Good performances.
like out of the three movies, like I said, like Shazam, if you don't like comic book movies, obviously that's gonna be a tough watch, tough
Right.
sell. Scream's a horror movie, tough sell. This is probably your other number one that, hey, go check it out because it's something different. So that's where I would put it. I mean, it's definitely our
Right.
number three movie, but it could be your number one only because you're not into the very specific genres of those other two.
Maybe
So
you're just waiting for John Wick 4. Who knows?
yeah, exactly. Okay, Pete, you can run down the next of these films. I haven't seen these, but
Okay,
next we
I'll
have
run down.
Operation Fortune. Go ahead.
Operation Fortune was, I didn't realize it was a Guy Ritchie directed film, and it looked like it after I saw it and I saw Guy Ritchie. I'm like, that makes sense. Starring Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, Hugh Grant, Carrie Elwes, and Josh Hartnett. This was a fun movie. This is a standard Jason Statham where Statham just for some reason can't be injured or destroyed. He just is action and is awesome at everything that he does in terms of karate and shooting and everything else. Aubrey Plaza, of course, is great. I love her. And Hugh Grant, and the Hugh Grant Josh Hartnett relationship in this film is hilarious. And Hugh Grant does a really great job in this film. It's a good watch. I would definitely see it. And yeah, the next one is Champions, directed by Bobby Farrelly, of the Dumb and Dumber fame. This is starring Woody Harrelson, and we get Winston Zedmore also in this film for all of you Ghostbusters fans out there. But Woody Harrelson basically is a college assistant coach who basically gets pissed off that he's not being listened to and punches Winston Zedmore and gets kicked out of the NCAA or whatever it was, and ends up having to serve community service with a bunch of handy-capable people and their basketball team. This is very much along the lines of the Johnny Knoxville, The Ringer film that came out about the Special Olympics and was very heavily endorsed by the Special Olympics. That's why it was able to be made and have a lot of comedy attached to it, because it's very difficult to.
Wait, you're talking about the Ringer? Is that what you said?
The Ringer was the Johnny Knoxville movie.
Yeah.
Champions was sort of the same thing, where you have the same group of really talented young actors who are challenged, but they are hilarious. Each one of these characters builds off of what Woody Harrelson does as the coach who just doesn't have any idea how to relate to people at all. I mean, that's the real premise of this movie, and the real arc of Woody Harrelson's character is he's somebody that doesn't know how to relate to people, and yet he has to relate to people who are just amazing people, but you really have to kind of get in there and know them. I enjoyed this film 100%, and I would recommend everybody to go see this one as well. It's a fun ride for sure, and it's sweet. It's a sweet movie. All right, The Boss is Strangler off of Hulu, directed by Matt Ruskin, starring Keira Knightley. This is an examination of the first woman who really broke the story of the Boston Strangler in Keira Knightley, and she exposed Albert DeSalvo as the actual murderer. However, through her investigation, she realized that there was not just another person involved, but maybe 3 people involved. And it's a really, really well-crafted film on Hulu. If you have Hulu, go and see it. It's a great in the house, gotta watch something kind of film. The last one is The Magician's Elephant, directed by Wendy Rogers and produced by a very good friend of mine, my former boss, Julia Pister, of Barbie fame, of Lemony Snicket's fame, of all these different things. She's one of my mentors, and she produced this film on Netflix called The Magician's Elephant, and it stars Mandy Patinkin, Noah Jupe, Brian Tyree Henry, who we love, and Paws of Fury's own Asif Manvi is also in this. He plays the king. And this is a really, really wonderful family story about the power of magic and what one young boy, what his beliefs can actually accomplish through that belief, and how he can accomplish what he needs to accomplish in his life through the elephant of a certain magician that sort of takes place. So I highly recommend that film, and well done, Julia. And
that's on Netflix, right?
Netflix.
Nice.
Top 10 Netflix.
I'll check that one out.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it sounds like I got to get caught up. I went on a little vacay too.
Some really good streaming movies right now, and those are the ones that you should go check out for sure.
Sounds good. All right, Pete, up next we have our upcoming 2023 films. We're entering blockbuster season, and we want to help be your guide to what you should be looking forward to this summer. And so with
Why don't you start it off?
Yeah, we'll start off. So we're just gonna go 10-1, and then we'll each give our 10 and move down. So
Right.
my number 10 film, Pete, as a Universal Studios pass holder, they create a new land for this movie. And so I'm also looking forward to attending that. But it's Super Mario Brothers. It's an animated film,
Really?
but it looks solid. Like it looks like they're actually, it's very in the realm of Sonic in terms of I think they're going to execute pretty well on this one. And it looked that I like the trailer. I'm looking forward to it. Again, it's a longtime character, and I think this they might finally figure out the formula for Super
Huh.
Mario Brothers. So I think this is a franchise in the making, and
Interesting.
it looks like a good time. So I'm excited to see that one.
No, that's interesting. I've kind of gone off of what the reviews have said so far, and nobody is looking forward to this film.
Oh, all right. Well, that's why at the Action
So
Podcast, we don't let other people think for us, Pete. We think for ourselves.
no, that's true, and I get that. No,
Free thinking.
that's why I appreciate that that's your number 10. My number 10 is a movie that is going to be coming out on is it Netflix or is it Apple Plus, Paramount?
Probably, if it's what I think you're going to say, it's
Pillars of the
Apple
Flower
Plus.
Moon. I think it's Apple Plus,
Oh,
right?
that was not what I was thinking you're going to say. I don't
Pillars of
know.
the Flower Moon. It's a Scorsese movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. I don't know much about this film, but you add those three people together,
It's
and
if
it's
it's the
something that
same book,
I
I
need
think
to
I've read the
watch.
book, and I think it's a kind of a murder mystery type.
Right. Scorsese directing, Leo and Bobby D.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm in.
these guys don't sign on to do
Then
any
that's
project.
that's my number 10, by
Yeah,
the way.
that's
That's my
solid.
number 10.
That's solid.
Scorsese, Leo, Bobby D, number 10. Just wait. Just wait, Paul.
All right, and then go ahead and give your number 9 since we're doing
Number
city.
9. Number 9 is another one of these movies that I don't know a lot about because they haven't really given a lot of information about it, but just based off of the title and who's in it so far, it's called Wolves. It's starring Brad Pitt and George Clooney. It follows two lone wolf fixers who are assigned to the same job. That's all I know. That's
Yeah.
all I know. But you got Pitt, you got Clooney. It's called Wolves. They're hitmen of some kind. I don't know. I'm okay. I'm
Hopefully
down.
it's good. Hopefully it's good. That sounds good.
I'm in there.
Okay. My number 9 is probably gonna be controversial, but I don't care. But it's just I do enjoy the franchise, so I'm always game. And it's an interesting take. So it's Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. And I remember when those toys came out, and so this is kind of not a spin-off of a Bumblebee, but it's like before the other events of the Transformers. So I'm curious to see kind of what they do with it. I know Spielberg and they had this like group caucus of where to go with the franchise and all that stuff. So you got some of the best minds in Hollywood legitimately working on how to make this. I mean, they spent, I think, like $10 million just on pre-production, like concept ideas, which is unheard of. And so, I think when you spend money on story and all that stuff, I think like Bumblebee was one of the first films to come out of this caucus. And so, I'm optimistic that they're going to make a solidly entertaining film that's going to continue the franchise. So
it's possible that I need to revisit this franchise with an open mind because I'll be honest, after the first one, I was completely turned off. And I have
you
not
like the second one at all? I like the second one.
I haven't seen any subsequent films after the first one. And I haven't seen Bumblebee. I haven't seen any of these iterations.
Bumblebee's really I would recommend Bumblebee. Bumblebee's solid.
For this to be in your top 10 of the upcoming season is interesting. I don't agree in theory with it, but
Yeah.
I will reserve judgment until I've actually seen the films and do I actually anticipate this being something good. So maybe that'll be on my list.
Yeah.
What about number 8?
So my number 8 is your number 10, which is Killers of the Flower Moon, for all the reasons you said. Again, I believe I've read this book, and I'm looking forward to seeing this.
You believe you read that book?
Because I might be mixing it
I
up.
read the Bible, I think.
There was 2 books that I know, like Leonardo DiCaprio bought the rights to, and one of them is The Devil in the White City. And then I thought I've read Killers of the Flower Moon. It's by the same author. So I would have to look at it. I'm pretty sure I think I know what the movie's about or the story is about, but I would just have to. I haven't done the research, so I'd have to confirm that that's the book.
Right. Well, my number 8 is a movie that was in development, or actually not even developed yet, or even in development. It was actually, they just started talking about this feature. And I was at Mattel and they were talking about this Barbie movie. They were talking about actresses and who was going to be in this film. And it was only years later, after I had left Mattel, that they came up with Margot Robbie to be Barbie. And there isn't a more perfect match for this character. And then you start hearing about like these great things like Will Ferrell's in it. And gosh, what's his name?
I don't know much about the film.
Who plays Ken? It's from La La Land and from
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling's in it. Like he's Ken. This is going to be a funny movie at the very least. But who knows?
Greta Gerwig directed it.
So who knows? This has the potential to be a real game changer with this IP, and not just very sort of enclosed into like kids who want to buy toys, but this could actually branch out and actually be something that is a little bit more global and bring people into this sort of Barbie world. So I'm looking forward to this one.
The cast is actually pretty solid. It's got Kate McKinnon, Michael Cera, America Ferrara,
Michael Cera of Paws of Fury fame.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
Issa Rae. I'm just looking at some of the names like I actually recognize.
Oh, it's incredible. Like they
that right there is already a pretty solid cast.
But that was 5 years ago. So this tells you how much time, this tells you how much time was put into this and the thought and really making sure that it was something amazing before they put it out. So that's why I have high hopes for this. It was really, they've really put in their time on this film, and I'm happy to hear it, and I look forward to seeing it. This is my number 8 for sure.
7.
Number 7. This might seem low, but only because all the other films on my list are amazing. Number 7 is Air, the Nike movie with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck about Nike, obviously the shoe line, and how they came to prominence through Michael Jordan. I can't wait to see this film. As soon as I heard that they were making this film, I couldn't wait for it to happen, and it's about to happen. So yay. Can't wait.
My number 7 is Roosevelt, which also stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Scorsese. He is one of my favorite presidents. So he's never really been on screen. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do with it, what part of his life they focus on.
Other than Annie, right?
Huh?
Other than Annie, right? He was in Annie?
No, that's FDR.
Oh, that's the other Roosevelt.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt. I'm assuming this is about Teddy Roosevelt, no?
I
thought it's about
Roosevelt. It's about Roosevelt.
I thought it's about Teddy Roosevelt, but yeah.
Okay.
So looking forward to that one. And then my number 6 film is the next film from Christopher Nolan, which is Oppenheimer. And so, Tenet was okay. It was not. I didn't feel like it was on the same level as some of his other films. So I'm kind of want to see where this is at. Obviously, this is more based off a true story, so he's a real guy. So yeah, I'm curious to see what he does with this one.
Yeah, Tenet. On a side note, Tenet was like one of those things where you're like, let me try something so out there, and then have it completely fail. That movie just didn't work.
Wait, do we even know why did you put this? It says this is in pre-production right now. What release date? Roosevelt?
No, Roosevelt. It should be released this year and the next year.
It's in pre-production right now.
Sure, it can still get done.
I mean, that's pretty fast, Pete.
It could still get done, Paul. You have no idea. With Scorsese and
this sounds like our Young Guns 3 anticipation.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, Young Guns 3 is coming out. Get ready.
That's actually supposed to come out this year, but I refrained from putting it on my list because no exact release date.
Still waiting. Well, either way, it's something to look forward to, Paul. Which is
I just wasted a spot on a film that's probably not coming out this year.
That's okay. That's my number 3. So, I'm looking forward to this movie more than you, apparently.
Yeah. Well, maybe 2024. It'll probably make our 2024 list too.
Number 6 on my list is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Because I didn't like number 4, but I have to imagine that they've learned their lesson and they want to revive this IP, and bring this thing back to the former glory that it once was. I have to imagine that this next film, this Dial of Destiny film, is going to be absolutely incredible. That's my
Yeah.
number 6.
And it's James Mangold too, which he directed Logan, 310 of Yuma, among other films. So very good, great director.
Amazing films.
Yeah.
Number 5 for me is the sequel to a movie that I haven't seen yet. And I'm going to see it, and I know I'm going to love it just like everybody else. So I have to imagine the second one is going to be as anticipated as I put it on my list. Number 5, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
But you haven't seen the first one?
I haven't seen the first one yet. And I'm in animation. I haven't seen the first one yet. I know. It's on my list, but we have a show where I have to constantly see new things, and I can't get back into like history in order to see these things unless we're talking about them. So
how are you anticipating if you've never seen it? You don't know if it's good or bad.
Because I know what people have said about this movie, about how innovative and how amazing the first one was in terms of just the animation alone. So I have to imagine that the second one is going to be even better than the first one.
We'll see.
However, you as the producer of this podcast should say Spider-Man Across the Universe, or whatever it's called. We should review that, and then I'll see it tomorrow because I have to. But
we will when it comes out for sure. We're going to definitely be seeing it.
This movie I can't wait to see because I can't wait to see the first one.
Nice. All right. Well, that's an amazing pick, Pete. I'm glad you put it on the list because, spoiler alert, it did not make my list, but it is definitely one of the top upcoming films. The first one did really well. Some people call it their favorite Spider-Man. So yeah, looking forward to it.
People call it one of the best animated films ever. But
yeah. I'm looking forward to it for sure. Okay, my number 5 was Indiana Jones for all the reasons I said. Again, I'm more putting a lot of faith behind James Mangold. The trailer has me a little worried that there's a little too much CGI still. I'm hoping James Mangold, and I don't know if this hope's going to hold up, but James Mangold does the J.J. Abrams approach back to Star Wars, where it's very practical, a lot of practical sets and all that stuff. But
also have that facial de-aging aspect of the film, which is supposed to be like really super cool as well. So,
I'm okay with that part. I mean, that part it's necessary. I mean, Michael Douglas executed that excellently in the Avengers films, and
what they've been doing with that recently, it's like you can actually do anything nowadays. You can make me look like I'm 5.
Yeah, for sure. And then my number 4 film, which is the movie coming out next week, and I'm actually going to see it tonight. I'm seeing it tonight, which will probably be tomorrow by the time this podcast comes out. But is John Wick 4. I'm super excited. I've been watching 1 and 2 again, and I just really, these movies are these type of movies can sometimes be an absolute miss, but they're so stylized, done very well, super entertaining. I just want to start fighting with people after I watch this film. Like I remember watching John Wick 3 and me and my buddy were just like punching each other after the movie.
That's my number 4 as well. John Wick 4. That's my number 4 movie. And I'm going to see it in 2 days. I'm not going to see it tonight. I'm going to see it tomorrow, which is Friday. John Wick 4. We've been looking forward to this, and I binged the first 3. I saw the first one, and somebody talked about the dog, and it was like, well, it's about a dog, and he wants to get revenge for the dog, and that was the setup for me. When I first saw it, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh my god, like this movie's amazing. And then I saw 2 and 3 like back to back because years had gone by at that point. I saw 2 and 3 back to back, and I'm like, oh my god. When 4 comes out, I'm first in line, and I can't wait to see this film.
Yeah, this is a weird, in a good way, weird franchise where it really elevates from each one. Like the first one is a solid origin story.
Yeah.
And it really sets it up nicely. It's definitely more story oriented, more character based, and it's done very well. And then the second one's like, oh, remember all that history we talked about? All right, boom. Well, this is the world that he's in. And then it really introduces us to the world that he's in. And then it's like, boom, how it ends. And then you're like, holy shit. Okay. Third one, we're basically going to war. And the third one was a war. And so now like I'm looking forward to the fourth one where I kind of know. I looked at the premise of it, but I got to watch the third one again. But I want to see really where they take
He
it.
needs
But
his freedom. Does he get
yeah,
his freedom, Paul, or not? The
well, this
one
is to
thing I
take down
will
the
say,
world, basically. Like now he's going after the world, so he kind of
yeah,
keeps moving his way up in the world. Now this is him versus the world. So
it starts as a story, as any good saga is. It starts
yeah,
as a story and it expands and expands, and now we're global. This is the
yeah,
global film.
yeah.
And unfortunately, we lost Lance Reddick at the end of this film, and he's the concierge at the hotel who always helps.
What do you mean? You're speaking in real life. We
No, I'm
lost
speaking
Lance
in
Reddick.
real life. His like the real
Yeah,
life
yeah.
person who
He just
played
passed away like a month ago, right?
just passed away, and
Yeah,
it's unfortunate because he was in such great things like
The Wire.
um, he was in The Wire, of course, and he was in Fringe. He was super good in Fringe. Like he's just one of these guys that when you see his face, you just know him. And I didn't find out he passed away until like yesterday, and like I felt really, really bad about it because
I mean, he literally just passed away in the last couple of weeks. Like it, I
right,
think a month ago. I think it's a couple of weeks. Like it hasn't
everything
been
that
that
I've
long.
watched over the past, like, I don't know, 10 years, like I've always seen him. Like he's been everywhere and he's
Yeah,
been a
he's
staple
a
in my
great
life,
actor.
and now he's not there anymore. And it just,
Oh, wasn't he in Bosch too?
I think he's in Bosch as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's number 4 on my list. Number 3 was one that you had already mentioned, Roosevelt, because how can you not have a Leonardo and a Scorsese movie
Who
in your
cares when it
list?
gets released? It's still one
Who
of the
cares when it gets released?
movies.
2023, 2025, give a shit.
Yeah, it's really high for a movie that may not be released this year. But hey,
Who
pretty
knows?
good.
All
All right,
right,
my number three is legit number three,
go
and
ahead.
we went big with John Wick 4, and this film looks like it's gonna find ways to get to keep going bigger and bigger, and it's only because the guy that runs it, and that's Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, and this is going to be a two-parter. So I have a lot of like Infinity War, like expectations to it in terms of like you're going to walk and you're going to be mad that the movie's not
That's my
over
number
yet,
2.
and you got to wait another year for the movie to come out.
That's my
And
number
it's
2 film.
exactly how Infinity War was. You're just
Yep.
like, oh my goodness, like I need to watch the rest of this. And I have a feeling that this Mission Impossible, I mean, the stunt that they did in this already is ridiculous. And
No.
yeah, I'm super looking forward to this one.
Mission Impossible is a franchise that just keeps elevating every time you watch one of these films, not only because of the talent that they bring in, but because of that core piece, which is Tom Cruise. And it's not just what he does in these films and what he did for like Top Gun, where he just is that IP. He's Mission Impossible through and through, not just because of what he brings to the acting of this film and the action that he brings, but because of the stunts that he does. Everything that you hear off screen
Realism,
that
yeah.
he really does for this franchise, like Top Gun and Mission Impossible, these are his two babies. And he puts his heart and his soul into each one of these films. And I expect every time to see these to be absolutely blown away. And I am every time.
Yeah,
This
the
is
last
my
one was
number
really good.
2 most anticipated film of the year, 100%. Part 1, Dead Reckoning. I agree.
Wait, that was your number two?
That was my number 2.
So is it
I'm
my turn?
agreeing with you. That was your number 3. I'm agreeing and saying it was my number 2. So
Yeah.
just keep going.
Oh, got it. So that's you're swinging it back to me now.
So what's your number 2?
My number two, and I just saw the trailer for this, and I mentioned it earlier, but it's The Flash, and it's the
Number
only,
2?
yeah, because like I am this one's supposed to be kind of the multiverse type thing too. And again, you're bringing back Batman, and I just want to, I want to see where this is going.
Sure. That's number 10.
No,
Maybe.
I'm like super looking forward to
I
it. I
think
mean,
you're more curious about Michael Keaton than anything else, no?
yeah. I mean, that's part of the curiosity.
Number 10.
Ben Affleck, I want to know how he plays into this, and I just want to know where this. Again, this is under new leadership, and I'm just curious where this is going because Batman is probably my favorite superhero, and so I want to see where this franchise is going. So that's where the again, this is anticipation, not necessarily. I think this is the second best film. This is what I'm
Right.
most anticipated, looking forward to, and that's I
Okay.
am super anticipating, looking forward to this. Oh, is Wonder Woman going to show up? Like I have so many questions and want answers, and that's why this is my number two anticipated film
Wow.
of 2023.
Number 2. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me just spoil everything with my number one film.
Well, no, you have to give your two.
I already gave you my two.
What was your
It was
two?
impossible.
No, that was your three. You said.
No, that wasn't my three. I told you that
Oh
Mission
yeah, you're right. You're
Impossible.
right. You're right. You're
That
right.
was my number two, and I was agreeing with you. So go ahead and just continue with your number
Right.
two.
Right. Right. Right.
My number one film of this upcoming year is a film that has been it's almost the Avatar 2 Way of Water preview that you've seen a million times, and yet each time I've seen it, I don't get annoyed or angry by it. I just get more and more excited about it, and that's Oppenheimer. This film, I have to imagine that this movie is going to be like the biggest thing that I've ever seen in my life. That's the way it's projected to me. Um,
You're a
uh,
sucker for marketing. It sounds like.
it's, I mean, oh my gosh, but this is such an important moment in history, and to be able to encapsulate it into a performance. And what's his name? Killian Murphy.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy is somebody that has always just sort of elevated his performances every time I've seen him, whether it's from Batman, whether it's in Peaky Blinders. It doesn't matter what he's in. He always elevates things. And this is one of those films, and it's Christopher Nolan as well, which is like, oh my God, I can't wait and see this. I can't wait for this film. This is my number one anticipated film of this next year is Oppenheimer. I can't wait for it to drop, literally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I had it at number 6 myself. I think, truthfully, I think I still have a little. I watched Tenet 3 times. I couldn't stay awake. I think I literally fell asleep 3 times,
Tenet pissed me off.
and I still was just like, "Am I missing something here?" Um, I don't think I did miss anything. I
Got
watched
mad.
it 3 or 4 times, and still it never did. Like Dunkirk, I was like, "Oh, okay, got it. Like I get it." Watching it the fourth time, Tenet,
Dunkirk was linear. You could follow a
no, it was
point
not
A to
linear. What
point
are you
B.
talking about?
Dunkirk was linear compared to what Tenet was.
Oh, well, I mean, sure, but Tenet didn't really have the payoff.
Tenet was the dumbest thing I ever saw. And I hate to like I hate to like dump on somebody's like hard work,
Yeah.
but when Tenet came out and I watched it, I didn't understand. I'm pretty well versed when it comes to filmmaking. Like I understand
Yeah.
what it takes to make a film. I'm not just like some guy saying that a movie just didn't work. I'm telling you, it didn't work. Tenet didn't work. Whatever he had in mind and what I saw, I guarantee you that's not what he wanted. It couldn't have
I,
been.
I,
If
I
that's
could,
what he
I could
wanted,
maybe get on board with that. I can maybe get on board with that.
that's what he wanted to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So
Yeah.
it had to have been something that he just gave it a shot and it didn't work, which I can accept, versus that's exactly what I wanted to do. And me saying,
Like
well,
Dunkirk.
why would you do
Dunkirk
that?
worked.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
why would
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah, for sure. All
Whatever.
right.
But Oppenheimer, I can't wait, man.
Well,
Oppenheimer's gonna be
I'm looking forward to it again. I think that's why it's as low as it on mine is just simply I'm hoping he doesn't try so hard, I guess. Like sometimes like
I think this story's too linear to fuck it up.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, I think that's where my buyer's remorse
Right.
is slightly there.
We'll find
I
out.
don't like that, by the way, because I love Christopher Nolan. Dark Knight is my favorite film of all time. And so like
not it's number two. Right?
so but I'm looking forward to it. I'm obviously I'm gonna see all these movies, obviously. So
100%.
and then my number one, and only it's probably because of the story itself and then who's involved, but it's Air. It's Matt Damon, it's Ben Affleck, it's Michael Jordan, it's Nike. I've always loved this story. I know a little bit of the inner workings, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they put that on screen. And
Comedy that they
I feel like
attach
this is
to
also
it.
a film I'm not going to be disappointed in. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to work.
It seems very difficult to mess up that movie. And I was bummed that I had to put it so low on my list, but I just had some other ones that I really were looking forward to more. But I have
Like
this sneaking
a film that's
feeling
going to come out a couple years from now. Yeah, like that's
like Roosevelt. Like that could come out in 2027. Who knows?
if you had a controversial pick, Pete, it's that one. Like you put it so
It's
high,
Roosevelt.
and
Hey,
it's not
next time
even
don't look over.
is there
Next
even a
time,
release date? How did they
next
even
time
put him on my list? I
how
think I
about you
stole
next
your
time
list.
you don't look over my shoulder and go, oh, what's coming out this next year?
I know you
Interesting.
just wrote it down. I did no background check on it. When I looked at it, it's like
Oh,
in pre-production.
so maybe
Did you see a release date though?
I didn't see a release date, but I saw
Oh,
that
my
it was being released in 2023. So maybe it's
Would you get that
released
on Twitter, on internet?
maybe December 31st, 2023. You never
Get
know.
that
Wait till the last minute.
Did you look on the World Wide Web to find that answer, Pete?
Yes, I looked on the internet.
Yeah. Great
So
job.
some honorable mentions that might come out before
All right,
Roosevelt.
well, let's do back and forth. Just name an honorable mention. We'll go back and forth.
Honorable mentions. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
I probably wanted to put that one.
That
In
could have been
hindsight,
easily my number 10.
I would have replaced Roosevelt with that one.
I would have too.
Had I known that my research.
What a coulda shoulda, Paul. What's
Yeah.
another one?
My next one is only because of the investment I made is Dune Part 2. And I feel like there is a setup and I need to see the payoff. So that's the only reason why I anticipated. I'm not saying best film. Anticipation. I'm looking forward to seeing where this story goes.
Have fun. I couldn't get through the first one. I begrudgingly got through the first one and didn't understand what was going on and wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah.
Another film coming out soon, director Michael Mann starring Adam Driver called Ferrari. That sounds interesting. That might be a movie that I can get on top of because great director, great actor about the creation of the Ferrari brand. So could be amazing.
Yeah. Another one for me, Extraction 2, starring Chris Hemsworth. I really enjoyed the first one. Good action film, military type of action film. Looking forward to that one.
An interesting upcoming film, Wonka, starring Timothy Chalamet and Olivia Colman, a live-action revamp of the classic tale of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Should be interesting.
Yeah. Another one for me, Dungeons and Dragons, which comes out. I'm just curious to see kind of what they do with it. Trailers are pretty solid.
I've never been a Dungeons and Dragons person, but I'm always curious about what they do with IP years and later. So maybe
in the trailers look solid. So I mean, we're gonna be watching that in 2 weeks. So definitely curious on that one.
My final one is hopefully the finale of this group, the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I have to see how they end this trilogy, and I know it's part of a broader universe, but I think that this might be the last of the Guardians, and I'm curious to see how it ends.
Yeah, and then I'll just have 3 more that I put on the list.
Go ahead.
Tetris, which is going to be on Apple TV Plus.
Yes,
that sounds interesting. Murder Mystery 2 with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. I enjoyed the first one.
Thank you.
And
yes.
Then, of course, just curious on the Fast and Furious one, Fast X.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think I've ever seen one of those films.
They're entertaining. I mean, sometimes they get a little too crazy with the CGI, but it's a good ride. It's a good ride.
But if I started today with number 1, which I've never seen, and started working my through, you'd say I'd have a good time.
Yeah, they're not.
All right, maybe I'll do that.
Let me put it this way: like after some of these films we watch, like you're just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's nice. You don't have to like fully invest in them too. It's not like you're, you know, you can do something else too while you're watching them, and it's not like, you know, they're nice fillers.
Sure.
And it's a ride.
Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, the first one's really good. Like it's actually a well-crafted film. The first one.
Right.
The third one is where it drops off. The second one, I actually really enjoyed.
But then they branch off with the Hobbs and the.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw. I enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw. So it's yeah. I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
Just don't expect Oscars from them.
Right.
All right. Well, with that, Pete, that's gonna wrap it up. Of course, next week we already talked about it.
John Wick
4. That's the big one coming up. So I'm gonna be checking that out literally tonight, which will be tomorrow by the time this comes out. Since we record this later than I wanted to, and won't have time to edit this before I have to go to work. But with that, Pete, that is a guy. Oh, make sure you like and subscribe, all that good stuff, guys. Comment below, give us what movies you're looking forward to if we didn't mention them, and appreciate that. Thank you, guys. And with that, Pete, that is a cut. Thanks, guys.
See you.